Enso, did you want to give some kind of announcement? And then I think we'll be done. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Unless anybody else has anything they want to throw in before. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Hold on, wait.
Yeah?
Are we going to have questions at the end?
Oh, sure.
Jerome
Yeah.
said something about that. I just was wondering if that was in the mix, like questions at the very end before
I'm
we leave.
allowing the next half hour. This is Jerome to field any and all questions that I can answer.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have questions and answers afterwards. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to. Good evening, everyone, or good morning. It's 3 a.m. for me right now in Australia. But tonight, I just wanted to express how excited I am for this truly decentralized AI project. I've only been in Satori since the 4th of July, and the potential I saw when I first entered is extremely good from my perspective. It's not just another tech project, it's a fundamental shift in how we approach AI. I don't even like calling this stuff AI, but we're getting there. The growth, the innovations, the community that's formed around the project so far is really good. It's blown me away. Speaking of the community, we just want to say thanks to everybody that's participated so far. Whether you've been here since the beta, which was before my time, or whether you're just starting in the last month or so, the engagement and the support is absolutely crucial in projects like this. You're not just users or investors, you're co-creators in the journey and towards a decentralized AI. What we want to do to commemorate and to mark the beginning, the launch of this project is we're going to be minting a couple of NFTs. The beta users will have a special edition version, but also everybody that's currently staking will receive an NFT as well. You might be wondering, when do I get my NFT? It will show up in your wallet eventually. We still have to create the tool to distribute that to everybody, but it shouldn't be too long. So we just really want to, we want to mark the early involvement and give people a token that they can hold on to forever to commemorate this moment in history. We could dive into more technical details of what we're doing to make predictions about the technology and where it's going to take us, but I myself don't have that knowledge. Utah, Jerry, and Will are the main guys for that. What I do know is with the community and the brilliant minds working on this project are the fundamental principles of decentralization. And it's the people that really make this stuff. Otherwise, it gets left up to governments, corporations, and all the people who you don't want building these tools, and you fall into traps, right? So I think it's really important. That's why I'm here, and that's why I participate in the project. And I just really want to thank Metastack, Will, Utah, Jerry, our devs, Will QSL. Everybody's been grinding really hard. There's been a lot of sleepless nights for a lot of people. The project has really hit the ground running very quickly. And thanks everyone for pretty much all your participation and engagement. And I hope we continue to get that kind of support. That's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Thanks. That's awesome. I feel the same way.
Cool.
Should we open it up for questions or anything?
I got my camera on here. Maybe if people are chatting questions, like on the chat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We have one already, Antonio Silva.
What's the question?
I think he was talking about stuff that Jerome was talking about when he said, like a model for temperature prediction can make use of time of year and trends, right? So I think that's what Jerome was talking about for the cyclical nature. Yeah.
Yes. So can I just talk to that just for a few minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So you know, I've done projects, for the government and for a variety of different groups, my small business and me. And and that's actually one of the main things that people use is that to do things like modeling temperatures and anomalies, anomalies in temperatures and weather and things like that. So, for example, what you have is if it's like a normal time series, you think of something being relatively flat, that is called stationary. And with many of these methods, if you don't take into account if a time series is non-stationary, then you're using the wrong tool. It's kind of like applying a power drill when you need a hammer. So part of what we do is there are different models and they make different assumptions, but the underlying theme is if we can run some statistics, then we can extract out knowledge of what those cycles and trends are. And part of the problem with what a lot of people do today in the time series modeling world is that they'll have an expert and they'll create a bunch of graphs, and from that they'll decide what parameters to use or how to preprocess the data. But the problem is that that requires the user to be getting in almost at the code level and be someone that knows a lot of the theory. So what we're trying to do here is, based on each kind of model, there's a step we can do that essentially identifies the trends or things like the trend, and it pulls out a single variable that can go between 0 and 5. And then the tools, the libraries we're using can then take that as an input, and it essentially creates two models. So think of it almost like a machine learning model combined with, let's say, I'm oversimplifying this, but a linear model. So the linear model does modeling of linear behavior the best. You're not going to get a tree model that's going to model something linear better than the linear model. So we're essentially decomposing this complex time series into chunks that are added together. And then for each chunk, we're kind of modeling it with the approach that makes the most sense. And another example is for the cycles. Well, with cycles, one of the challenges is that you may have more than one seasonal cycle. So if something has cyclical behavior in it, it's saying that it's seasonally, it has those seasonal components. And what we want to do is, again, somehow incorporate the seasonal components. So in classical time series models like ARIMA, it actually can pick off the seasonal information automatically, but you're locked into one season. Like you could say, well, it's a daily cycle. But for some of the other approaches, you brought up a very good point. You're talking about the time of day. So what we did was we said if we have a time series that goes for multiple years, that we would pull out some features, basically extract some features from the date time information that give us like very, very concise descriptions of different things that might cycle. For example, time of the day, if we were sampling hourly, it'd be between 0 and 23 or 1 and 24, but we're basically encoding that information, time of the day, is a single variable. And then we could do sine and cosine transforms. And then we could say, well, day of the week. Is it a Monday? Is it a Wednesday? Maybe there's special behavior on Monday that impacts a certain prediction. We could do that, although we haven't done it, we could also do that for holidays. And we could do it, we have done it for day of the year, and even for some variables that are very specific to temperature, like having to do with when the sun is up and how things heat up. So there are examples out there in the literature that we can do. So basically, if we know it has cycles, And in the future, we're going to automate this even further. We can create this set of exogenous features that are tied to things related to the datetime, to the calendar information, and have those be just different inputs to the model. And then, but the important thing is you can end up with a huge number of features. So we need to reduce the features to try to only capture those that have the greatest impact. So again, in summary, we're doing a combination of pulling out information about things like linearity, and then there are two different ways of addressing the seasonal cycles depending on which model we're coupling it with, whether it's an ARIMA or it's some kind of tree or forest-based machine learning model. And we can also do this for deep learning, but that's the idea. And the trick for all this is, when I describe it, it's complicated. Well, if it's this model and this statistical test shows this thing, and you do that. And so people in the past just sat down and they knew about the data, they defined their assumptions. It wasn't automated. So a big goal of this project is to take a lot of that knowledge that the researchers use when they build these models out by hand, and as much as possible try to automate it in a reasonable way. It won't be perfect, but does that answer your question?
He says, yeah.
Did that answer? Okay.
Yeah, awesome. We have another question, but before I answer it, I think it's for me. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for being part of this community and everything. It's going so fast. I can't even believe it. And there's so many people involved, and it's an amazing adventure. So I'm happy to be here. But I'll answer this question. So he says, I have a question. When do you intend to reactivate the referral system for promoting the project? Via a link and whatnot. And that's a good question. So this kind of has to do with the larger system. We have tried to do everything in the most essential manner, right? Like that's essentialism is always the goal. However, that's a hard thing to approximate, very difficult. And so we ended up building in features early on that we knew we would want to have eventually, and that but it introduced complexity so early on that we didn't need those features, and we didn't want that complexity right now. So some of those features have been turned off while we shore up the base and make sure all of our core functionality is accurate, working well, scalable, all those kind of things. So some of those features, that's one of the features, is kind of a referral link system. And so it's off right now, and we will bring it back online when we can. I don't anticipating it, being like way far in the future, a few months, a month, something like that, where we'll be able to turn all of these features that are off back on one at a time. And that'll be one of them. So I would try to be conservative and say, well, let's shoot for like 3 months on that particular question. But I'm glad people want to share it and are anxious to do that. But I just want to make sure everything's perfect for that particular feature. Let's see, we have some other questions. Plans for the Satori token use cases. Will it be used to buy and sell predictions? Well, maybe eventually. So that's the marketplace, like way down the road, years from now, probably. May not be years, but I think it is. So it could be used for that, right? Like that's the plan. Way far in the future. That's the plan for that. But It's not that way right now, not at all. And so right now it's strictly a governance token, and it will remain that way for a very long time. Um, but yeah. All right. It looks like that might be all the questions. Does anybody else have anything they want to say or anything at all? We have early riser here. Okay. Oh, thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for all your support, everybody. And we'll make this little video or this, meeting available online as well. We'll post it up or something. We'll figure it out. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to stick around here, but in case anybody wants to say anything or have any questions or whatever.
So, Jordan, I had a question. Do we want to talk about like the goals for the network side of things, or is this just for the AI side of things?
Yeah, it's been AI heavy right now, right? The network side of things are still sort of in flux, and so that's why we haven't really focused on them. But I know you particularly have been developing some very probably important things that we'll be able to look at pretty soon. But since we haven't kind of reviewed them already, I didn't kind of want to focus on them in this meeting.
No, I get that, and that's why I wasn't. That's why I was asking the question instead of saying, "Let's
Yeah.
talk about this."
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I'm very excited about some of the stuff. We need to be developing that side of stuff as well in tandem with everything else. As far as plans for changing the reward system based on accuracy of the predictions. So right now we gather predictions. We gather, any neuron that says, okay, I'm here on the network, I'm trying to make predictions, we gather all that. And all the predictions that are made. And at this very early stage, we do already sort of base it on accuracy of predictions, but it's extremely lenient. So already we have that in kind of an infancy mode, where it's saying, I see the predictions, I am calculating how well everybody's predicting, but since the AI engine is so prototypical, so it does do all that ranking and it does measure the accuracy of the predictions, but then it smooths out the curve so that it basically almost evens everybody out. So as we develop the AI engine and make it better at differentiating who's really good at making predictions, then it will lean more heavily into that accuracy metric and say, well, actually, like right now, it's very basic. It says, if you make predictions, we look at that particular prediction you made on that particular, what's it called, competition. And we isolate it down to that, and then we measure your accuracy. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where we're measuring accuracy over time and over competitions, so that we'll be able to say this neuron is extremely good at predicting over time, and it's good at predicting over all the data streams that it predicts. It's really, really quite good. And so we're going to get to that point. But it's just going to be a gradual evolution to that. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. We're there, and we're going to continue to improve that and mature that accuracy of predictions as well. Can you explain exactly what this means? This is what I was talking about for the competitions. So your neuron has a set of data streams that it downloads and then predicts on. And every time there's a new observation on a data stream, on each data stream, it produces a prediction of the next observation of that data stream. So if your data stream, says, I'm going to tell you what the price of gold is every 10 minutes or every hour, then your neuron will make a new prediction of the next hour, every hour when it sees a new piece of data. And that's what we're calling a competition, because everybody who's subscribed to that data stream is also making a prediction every hour, and then you're competing and on that accuracy. Now, the average placement, it's shown there. It's not really, the context isn't there yet, so you don't really know what that means. Was there 1,000 people competing? It doesn't really say. So this initial version of the daily stats was just to show people the very basics of what their neuron is doing. It is competing. It's done this many competitions, and it's this placement. Out of what, it doesn't actually tell you yet, but it has a placement. So it was kind of our first pass of getting data about what this neuron is doing from the network back to the neuron itself. So, all these things are improving in tandem with each other. And this is one of the things that's going to get more detailed as we go. Yeah, I think for some of these more detailed questions, totally feel free to message me or, talk about it on the Discord channels. And we'll totally answer anything that comes up. But I wanted to say thank you all for coming. This launch has been awesome, and we're just going to continue to improve it over time, forever. So thanks again. I'm going to sign off here. You guys are welcome to continue talking or whatever, but I really appreciate it.